announce a couple things. You guys, okay, this Jessica Kent stuff, I know she has done a lot wrong, but listen, we're all addicts. We've all done scumbag stuff, myself included. So this whole army against Jessica thing and, you know, just trashing her is, I'm not cool with that kind of stuff. So let's try to keep it somewhat respectful in the comments. Obviously, joking is always encouraged on this channel. We love to joke. But the genuinely mean-spirited stuff like that, I mean, you can comment it if you want to, but I'm kind of just at the point where it's like, you know, I mean, think about this. Jessica, with everything she completely, her whole livelihood is dependent upon YouTube, you know? So the part about her, like, not disclosing her using, like, I don't have too much of a problem with that. It's just kind of some of the things about how she put her husband Reese on blast. I thought that was so out of pocket, and that's originally why I started making these Jessica Kent videos 5 months ago, calling her out on her shit. But that still doesn't mean that we need to attack her, say anything like that. But this video is basically, let's just, because I'm trying to, like, put everything in perspective, and I'm trying to get into the mind of Jessica Kent. You know, let's see why she does the things she do. Kaiser Sosa says, back off Jess, bro. She's out here getting her money. Who are you to judge? Well, you know, I guess you could call it judging. I'm just here giving my opinion, man. I mean, have you read the whole do you know everything that's going on? Do you know, like, this timeline of everything? I'm not going to explain it because, I mean, you know, yeah, I'm just not going to explain the timeline. I've already gone over this in other videos. You know, the whole thing where she trashed Reese's name is that was really what did it for me. But like always, guys, like the video if you could, and let's jump into this video. Let's get into the mind of Jessica Kent.
The title, we're going to be talking about antisocial personality disorder. I'm going to talk to you guys about the diagnosis that I received. I'm going to talk to you guys about the time in which I received this in my life. We're going to answer your questions from Instagram, and I'm also going to read you the diagnosis and the psychological report itself. It is my hope that in making this video, people out there will not feel so alone, or I will be able to destigmatize antisocial personality disorder, because that looks different for all. Different for a lot of people. I think today with pop culture and movies and all of these different characters that are portrayed as sociopaths, I think a lot of people have a very misconstrued idea of what antisocial personality disorder actually looks like in everyday life. So
I'm I don't know that pop culture really talks about antisocial personality disorder hardly ever. So I don't really understand why she brought pop culture into it. I mean, I know it sounds good, but sounds real good, Jess. Sounds great. Okay, let's keep going. Okay.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Oh, damn. It's that old J Kent intro. Damn. She on that 720p back in the day. Ride or die.
Okay, so I kind of mentioned in a video last year that I have antisocial personality disorder, and I was talking about my childhood in the video, and I kind of just breezed past ASPD, and I didn't actually explain what that looks like for me or why that diagnosis was given to me or anything about it. I kind of just slipped it in. So What is antisocial personality disorder? What is the definition of antisocial personality disorder?
Oh, wait. Sorry, you guys. I wasn't even playing it. Whoops. Was not even playing it. I apologize, you guys. I just want to show you guys that old J.
Actually looks like an everyday life disorder.
Let's look at that old J. Kent intro.
Personality disorder, because that looks different for a lot of people. I think today with pop culture and movies and all of these different characters that are portrayed.
Hold on.
Okay, started.
Let's get that old J. Kent intro in there. Okay. Yeah. Ride or die. Ride or cry. Ride or die. Yeah, girl.
Okay, so I kind of mentioned in a video last year that I have antisocial personality disorder, and I was talking about my childhood in the video, and I kind of just breezed past ASPD, and I didn't actually explain what that looks like for me or why that diagnosis was given to me or anything about it. I kind of just slipped it in. So what is antisocial personality disorder? What is the definition of antisocial personality disorder? Per Google, antisocial personality disorder is a mental health disorder characterized by disregard for other people. Those with ASPD may begin to show symptoms in childhood, but the condition can't be diagnosed until adolescence or adult.
So it says no empathy for other people. That was the first line of antisocial personality disorder. So I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? Has Jessica displayed some behaviors that align with that? What do you guys think? I mean, because like this video, you guys, like I said earlier, like this is not an attack video. This is honestly just looking at everything that has happened with this whole Jessica Kent thing. And like, let's see if maybe her ASPD, let's just call it ASPD. Let's see if her ASPD has maybe played into this. Maybe, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to give Jessica the benefit of the doubt today, you guys. I'm trying to, you know, I'm turning a new wheel. Gosh darn it. Let's go.
Adulthood. Now, when I received this diagnosis, your diagnosis, what movie is that from? When I received this diagnosis, it was before I had custody of my daughter Micah. It was before I was in a relationship with Reese, and to that point, I had not established lasting bonds.
But she was riding old Jason in the penitentiary, though. You know that for dang sure. She was all giddy like a schoolgirl when she got that mail from the penitentiary. Whoo!
Bonds and connections with anyone. I'm a very closed off person. I'm someone that doesn't trust easily. I'm someone that is very guarded, and it is very difficult.
See, and you guys, already 2 minutes and 13 seconds into this video, I really appreciate her old content, like how like open and transparent she was back then. Like she's very like she's getting vulnerable, you know, which I got a lot of respect for her actually making this video. Why she deleted it, I don't know. Maybe embarrassment, maybe I don't know why she deleted it. But like honestly, like I'm gonna give like big respect, big kudos for her for putting this video out. Honestly, like that shows growth. It shows like you know, there's a lot to be said for that. So I'll give Jessica her props where it's due for that. For real.
To get emotionally,
sorry guys,
to get me emotionally attached to somebody. So at the time of this diagnosis, I was fresh out of prison and I was alone. And my rap sheet, my record, my jacket, all kind of pointed to ASPD. It was a very easy diagnosis to give me over 6 years ago. It was really straightforward. Everything on my record was ranging from being an addict, which is also a common thing with ASPD. It was violent because I have assault charges. It was just a kind of array, like it was all pointing towards this diagnosis is what I'm saying. So that was a very easy diagnosis for me at the time, especially because I had not created lasting bonds and connections with anyone in the outside world just yet. So this is a very common diagnosis for people that have broken the law and been to prison and suffered through difficult childhood or has a substance abuse problem. They show lack of regard towards law enforcement or authority or the law. They're impulsive. They take risks. They do not conform. Those are the symptoms that I have. Manipulation is also in there. And so with
manipulation. So let's I mean, where do we even start, man? I mean, it's, what do you guys think? How do you think this plays into everything that's going on? Because, I've seen quite a bit of manipulation throughout this whole thing, man. Like, just when she released that video of Reese when he crashed his truck and when she was relapsing, like, from everything I've gathered and what I've seen, they both started relapsing together. And Reese started relapsing when she brought the Adderall into the house. Straight up. Like, I know that for a fact from a source. I'm not going to say who, but someone who's very close to her, who you guys can probably guess. But I have gathered this from a source, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense, man. But like I said before, I'm going to give her props for being open, transparent, and vulnerable, which she does not do anymore. Her whole style, like, it seems like she genuinely was working a program of recovery back then. Why she deleted this, I do not know. I really don't, but let's go.
Always lack of empathy and hurting animals. Let me tell you right now, I would never hurt an animal. For a reason that doesn't serve a purpose, I would never in my life do that. The only time I would ever hurt someone is if my life is in danger or my child's life is in danger or there was some kind of a reason for me to do that. So roughly about 200,000 new cases of ASPD are diagnosed every single year. This is a very common diagnosis for people that go to prison. We have little regard for the law. We have taken risks. We have broken the law. We don't respect authority. A lot of inmates have had a really difficult childhood. And that is where we differentiate between late onset ASPD and early onset ASPD. So we're going to talk about both of those and what that means for me and where I fall in. But this is so common in prison. It's kind of like a rubber stamp diagnosis. Like, oh, this is your rap sheet. Do you feel bad for breaking the law? No. Boom, I'm going to give you this. So I have met so many people with this diagnosis. And do I feel like this is true to me? Do I feel like this diagnosis is accurate? Yes, I do. The reason why I believe that it is accurate is because I have late onset ASPD, meaning that these behaviors did not develop until later in life. Now, I'm very fortunate to say that because these behaviors developed later in life, I was able to kind of relearn things. I was able to take a really good, long, hard look in the mirror and say to myself, this is
well, she might have relearned things, but seems like she relearned the old behavior. If I'm gonna keep it a buck. Sounds like she redirected it, but hey, that's just my opinion, or I don't know how to pronounce this shit. Give me a break, you guys. Come on now.
unhealthy behavior pattern. How are you going to change it? And I am also very fortunate to be 2 weeks away from a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I've studied ASPD so much over the course of 4 years just to understand myself better. And any opportunity I had to write a paper on ASPD, I did so. And I did so just to learn more about who I am, what makes me tick, how I can recover from unhealthy behavioral patterns, and how I can show the world that people with ASPD or sociopathic can live normal, happy, functioning lives, and they're not out there hurting people.
I can just only imagine, like, you go into a doctor's office and they hand you like an antisocial personality disorder packet, and you open the first page and it says, yes, you may be diagnosed as a sociopath, but don't worry, with treatment and therapy you can lead a normal life. Let's go. So
let me talk about that label for a second, because I I think it is so misunderstood. Do I think I am a sociopath? Do I agree with that label? Do I like that label? Do I use that label? No.
Yeah, Lisa, I definitely agree with you. The more and more this stuff comes out, and despite all the negative things Jessica has done, all the manipulation, all the conning, she has had a very hard life, you guys. She grew up very poor in a trailer, that is what I've heard. And someone told me this, I don't know if it's true, but someone did tell me that like her first marriage to the reason she has the last name Kent, it was like some creepy arranged marriage type situation. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I believe she met this guy when she was underage and they became married. But then again, I'm not 100% sure on that. Could be wrong, but man, I don't know. I mean, that's got to be tough to deal with that growing up. I can't even imagine, to be honest. So, you guys, let's try to have some empathy for Jessica in this video, and let's keep going, you guys.
I honestly hate the word sociopathic if we're talking about someone with ASPD, and because those two things are put together so often on Google, people just think that if you have ASPD, it means you're just a really angry, vicious, awfully manipulative person that is out there hurting other people or hurting animals for no reason, or that is not who I am. So I do not believe in the label of sociopathic for me. I've never in my life hurt someone for absolutely no reason. The only time I've ever assaulted another person was in self-defense, and I've never hurt an animal. I am the biggest animal lover, and I am an animal mom.
Okay, let's skip to a little bit further into the middle of the video to see what she's got to say.
A more responsible, healthy, and balanced adult. And again, that goes back to it being a late onset ASPD diagnosis. So irritability is another symptom of ASPD. So let's just run through like really quickly, because I've been rambling a lot, where those 5 symptoms that I need for an antisocial personality diagnosis. Substance abuse, not having respect or little regard for the law, risk-taking, some manipulation, irritability, aggression.
Just some manipulation, guys. Just a little bit. Not manipulation, but just some manipulation.
That all fit into who I used to be. The mood of someone with antisocial personality disorder is going to be...
I was a sociopath, but now I'm not.
Anger, boredom, general discontent for life. And if you were interviewing me over 6 years ago when I am fresh out of prison, that is absolutely what my mood probably looked like. I just had a general discontent. I didn't even want to be in that therapy session. I didn't want to take all these classes. Now, because of this diagnosis, and because I was working to get my daughter out of DHS custody, for those of you that do not know, she was born while I was in prison, and that...
This video is like 2 or 3 years old. I'm not sure. I think it's from like 2020, I believe. You guys, hey, I know... I'm just trying to give old Jess the benefit of the doubt, man. Come on, you guys. Don't make fun of me, man. What's up? What's up, Mars World in the chat?
That video is linked down below. I had to take a lot of classes to determine if I was a fit mom and determine if I was going to hurt my child. I have taken several tests to determine if child abuse is a factor in my parenting, to determine basically if my child is at risk for me hurting her. And of course, because a judge ruled that I am a fit person to be my daughter's mother, so I've had full custody of my daughter for 5 years. Yeah, I'm so blessed to have that little girl. She saved my life, she changed my life, and she was the first person that I ever truly loved. When I met my daughter, when she was born for the first time, it was like the whole world changed. And now it's not just me anymore. It's this little girl that I have to love and protect and care for. And she is just the center of my world. Both of my daughters are, but Micah came first, and Micah really just changed my heart, and she saved my life. I feel like if Micah didn't arrive on scene, as traumatic and difficult as my pregnancy and then labor was. If that didn't happen, I would not even be sitting here today. I don't think I would be alive. And I genuinely mean that.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so now I'm going to read you my psychological
Had to plug in
evaluation, and
your
then we're going to go to
laptop.
Instagram to read some of your questions. So the first page of any psychological profile is going to be a background on the person. The first page just says that, you know, my last arrest was in 2011 for 2 ounces of meth and a gun. I did not know that I was pregnant at the time. My daughter is a motivating factor in changing my life. So the psychological report from when I first got out of prison, so 7/14/2013, I don't know what I can show. Okay. That is when that happened. It says where I lived, all of that stuff. And then it just continues to give a background on my childhood and my parents and all of that. Jessica has a personality style that involves a degree of adventuredness, risk-taking, and a tendency to be rather impulsive. Others may view her as pragmatic or perhaps unsympathetic in her relationships. Now, I also agreed with that because at this point in my life, I didn't know Reese. I hadn't fallen in love with Reese, and I really just didn't see the...
Okay, I'm gonna just stop it right there, Jess. Okay, you fell in love with Reese, right? Okay, let's get a little timeline going. But you really love Jason, okay? And we know this because we have all the documents. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. But I mean, we can go over the paperwork. She started talking to Big Jason, and here, I'll show you guys. I know you guys have seen this crap already, but she fell in love with Reese, right? She fell in love with Reese, but she fell in love with Reese in 2013, but looks like in 2015 she said, LOL. I'm grinning from ear to ear like a frickin' high schooler. LOL. I didn't realize that I said in love, but frick it, I am. You're about to have a whole pic of my whole body. I'm kneeling in the mirror in front of the pic. And she talks about toys, and she talks about reading old letters. You guys get the darn freaking point. So she's trying to say, I used to not have empathy, but once I met Reese, that whole sociopath thing, it went out the window. So let's hear Jess try to explain what's going on.
Value in relationships, and I didn't trust easily. I was so closed off. I also agreed with that because at this point in my life, others may view her as pragmatic or perhaps unsympathetic in her relationships. Now, I also agreed with that because at this point in my life, I didn't know Reese. I hadn't fallen in love with Reese. And I really just didn't see the value in relationships, and I didn't trust easily. I was so closed off that it did take a lot of time for Reese and I to become close. Her responses suggest that she has a history of antisocial behavior.
What do you guys think about that? You guys think she really fell in love with Reese? Or did she fall in love with them 6 figures? I don't know, man.
And may have manifested a conduct disorder during adolescence. So that's where the late onset comes in. She may have been involved in illegal occupations or engaged in criminal acts, as her record would reflect, drug dealing and physical aggression towards others. Now, she can see my rap sheet, and I told her all of the things I had been charged with, so I did violate my parole with assault charges. So it appears that Jessica has a history of involvement in intense and volatile relationships. In these relationships, she tends to be preoccupied with fears of being abandoned or rejected by people that are important to her. I definitely would agree with that assessment as well. Jessica's self-concept appears to involve a rather negative self-evaluation. She is likely to be self-critical, not handling setbacks very well, and blaming herself for past failures and lost opportunities. She may tend to play down her successes. Jessica's interpersonal style seems best characterized.
Well, I'm gonna have to humbly disagree with her playing down her successes. I mean, she's openly said that, you know, I am the queen of calming down violent, powerful men on blank.
Characterized as somewhat distant in personal relationships. She does not appear to place high premium on close, lasting relationships and views most social interactions without much enthusiasm. Yeah, I'm an introvert. I like staying home. And I am really distant when it comes to people that I'm just getting to know. And yeah, I definitely had a tough life. So again, so far.
Hey man, quietly as it's kept, I mean, shit, I can relate to some of these, man. I mean, I don't know, man. Hit, you know, click that like button if you can relate with some of these, even though it's sociopathic.
Are the assessment I completely agree with. Jessica's responses indicate that she is likely to be experiencing notable stout. You know, I didn't even have a driver's license. I didn't even have my own sneakers. I wore someone else's sneakers to this evaluation. With respect to anger management, Jessica describes herself as being rather impatient and easily irritated. She is relatively quick-tempered at times, and she may be easily provoked by the actions of those around her. Also kind of true. I think the fuck not, you trick ass bitch. Who saw that TikTok? So funny. She may.
Jessica, you just made me unmonetized. Great.
May have initial difficulty in placing trust in a treating professional as part of more general problems in close relationships. So, I think the psychologist definitely saw that I didn't trust her. Based on the testing, Jessica received the diagnosis of drug dependence and antisocial personality disorder. Her scores on the CAP indicate that she is not a potential physical child abuser, and her scores on the AAP 1-2 indicate that her parenting skills are adequate. Unless there are issues I am unaware of, I have no concerns at this time for returning custody of her child to her, provided that she follows the recommendations for like drug therapy. Okay, now I'm gonna go to your questions on Instagram.
Dang old felines.
Did this affect you in meeting Reese? Sorry if it's TMI, love you. Love you too. And yeah, it did. It affected me because I'm very distant and very closed off. And it took a lot of work on both sides to get me to be trusting with Reese, you know, and Reese he's so dependable and so good to me. Even though it took some time to get me to trust him, I completely.
Wow, doesn't sound like the same Reese. You know, I mean, he was, you know, the one thing I got to say about Jessica, he was this wonderful, great, you know, chivalry, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he, you know, he did the chivalry. He was open doors. He was paying bills. He was, you know, he got that, damn, Reese got that old drawl. He got that southern drawl that'll draw them females right on in, if you get what I'm saying, you know, cause he a smooth old boy, that Reese. Oh yeah, God damn old Reese, man. Reese, if you're out there, man, come on the channel, bro. I am 100%, I'm on your side, buddy. If you want to tell your side of the story, man, come right on, man. We're like, seriously, man, like, ball bullshit aside, I'll drop the southern accent. I don't have a southern accent. It's a fake southern accent. But Reese, if you want to come on the show and you want to tell your side of the story, email me, geraldluke@gmail.com or lukegtv22@gmail.com. Actually, better yet, just hit me up on Instagram, lukegtv. Let's go.
Completely trust him now, and we've been together for 6 years. So at first I'm so guarded and so closed off, and I don't trust easily. But Reese was he was always punctual, and I could always depend on him. If I had a flat tire, I know he'd show up. If I needed to talk to him, he'd always answer the phone. You know, he was always there for me, especially in the beginning when I still didn't have custody of my daughter, and I needed someone to talk to vent to trust, to lean on. And he was always there. So he's not only there for me, but he's there for our daughters. And he's such a good girl dad. I thought that I loved Reese before Micah came home full time, but seeing him as a girl dad made me love him even more. Lack of empathy is a big part of
Man, Jessica, man, can you guys just see the transformation? Like, I'm gonna give Jessica her props where it's due. She really was transparent. You can tell in this point of her life, it seemed like she was really working on herself, and she was really, like, I'm sure she wasn't perfect. None of us are, but it seemed like she was like attempting to better herself. And I think I really truly think she's in a downward spiral in life, which is okay. So am I. Like, I just relapsed a week and a half ago on up. And, you know, um, but like you can definitely see when someone's out, like not working on themselves, because like someone who's like working recovery, like doing the right thing, like they're not gonna like put someone on blast like Mindy on social media. They're not gonna like, oh, you're a snitch, this, that, and the third. Like someone who's really working on themselves would like take that information in and be like, okay, like, are what people saying about me, is this true? Like, do I need to change something about myself? But she has continued to just say, these are all lies. I'm telling the truth. I did nothing wrong, etc., etc., etc. So she's taken zero accountability. And, I really thought there was a small chance that she might take some accountability on her response to all the allegations. But she didn't do that. She word saladed the shit out of everything. She jumped around. She didn't really address anything directly. She just basically said, I'm going to do what I want to do. And but all that, this, that, and the third. And she really kind of just like admitted to what the allegations were without admitting to it. So let's go.
ASPD, but you seem to be very empathetic. Were you always that way? Lack of empathy is only one symptom of antisocial personality disorder. It's just one. It's not a big part of ASPD. It's just one, but it's the one you hear most about. I do have empathy, but then again, that's where we go to late onset ASPD, and I was able to kind of rethink things and just kind of have a better understanding of who I am, who I want to be, and my children were a big part of empathy. I love those babies, y'all, and I love my kids, and I love
Wasn't that kind of creepy how she said that? Let's rewind it. Wait. Did. Hold on.
And I was able to kind of rethink things and just kind of have a better understanding of who I am, who I want to be, and my children were a big part of empathy. I love those babies, y'all, and I love my kids.
I love those babies. Okay, maybe I'm over exaggerating a little bit there, you know what I mean? But I love them babies.
And I love Reese. So, can you have an ASPD diagnosis and love the people around you and have empathy? Yes.
What up, Heather? Timbers in the chat.
Do you think you may have
been
misdiagnosed?
What up, Christina Redsicker in the chat?
I think that was...
Let me shout out some people in the chat real quick. Shout out Jessica Jane, Kay Elise, my day one A1, my A1 day one moderators. Shout out all my moderators, all my members. Shout out John K. Shout out Ari. Shout out Since06. Shout out Zitra Torak. Shout out Steven. Shout out DK Diesel from Wisconsin. What's up, my boy? Shout out John K. Brenda Kreitz. The Lisa. Shout out Kay Elise. Shout out Kara Young. Shout out WAP. Shout out Brenda Kreitz. Shout out Ashley Elise. Shout out everybody, man. I'm done shouting y'all out, man. Come on, let's go.
A very easy diagnosis, and I think that it was an accurate diagnosis because there's early onset and late onset. So if you did have early onset, it would just be a little bit more challenging to kind of rethink those behavioral patterns. But it's not impossible. So if you do have a diagnosis of ASPD and it's early onset, you can do cognitive behavioral therapy, and there's so many things that you can do. This does go undiagnosed a lot because people with ASPD are so anti-conform and they don't trust and they don't want to go into a therapy session a lot.
Okay, Jessica Jane just brought up a really good point. So people with ASPD, they mimic other people's emotions because they are unable to feel those emotions themselves. So yeah, like that, I couldn't really put a finger on how she said that was awkward. But Jessica nailed it on the head. It was awkward because it seemed like it was forced, kinda. It seemed like she was like kind of like imitating. So, not trying to knock Jessica. I'm honestly taking an unbiased view of this video for the most part. I mean, obviously I can't be 100% unbiased because I've been covering this, you know, obviously I have my opinions, but like I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job of like unbiasedly, you know, giving Jessica her props where they're due, you know, speaking out on some things I don't agree with and this, that, and the third. I think I've done a pretty good job of doing that, you guys. Like, this isn't a bash Jessica video. This is just, let's understand this situation a little bit better type of thing. But anyways, let's go.
A lot of the time. So a lot of people have it and they've just never been diagnosed. Now, the reason why this is diagnosed so often in corrections is because they kind of make us see a therapist when you're out of prison.
Shout out to my member and moderator, Banana Smoothie 0620 in the building.
You're trying to accomplish other things, like maybe you have a DHS custody, or maybe you decide to go to mental health when you're in prison. So this is diagnosed quite often in a prison setting. What is the biggest misconception about ASPD? That there's only one kind of ASPD and that you have to hurt animals to have this diagnosis. That is so incorrect. I've never in my life hurt an animal. I think that misconception is the hardest for me to deal with because it's so not true about me. So yeah, that one's tough. Does it affect your daily life? You know, I really don't think so, other than the fact that it takes me a really long time to allow someone new into my life and to gain my trust as a friend. That's the hardest thing for me. Like, so I don't think it really affects my daily life other than that part of it. Like, it's really tough to be a very close and trusted friend in my life. Am I worried about my children having ASPD? No. Their childhood is so different than my childhood. Their life is going to be so different than my life. I hope. They're growing up in a stable home that is filled with love and kindness and fun. So I
But we got Vern the tweaker babysitting him though. I don't know I mean, actually that's not even, I shouldn't even joke about that. That was some bad decision making on her part to have that dude watching her kids, man. That's some bad decision making. Cuz he had allegations of the R word with GHB. So
I really don't see
what up, Kosova87?
an antisocial personality disorder diagnosis in their life. But if it happens, it happens, and we're going to work through it. So yeah, at this time, I'm not concerned. My daughters are 7 and 3. They're about to be 8 and 4. Does it ever go away with age or therapy? ASPD cannot be cured, if that's what you mean. So I will always have an ASPD diagnosis. However, that's kind of where we go back to late onset and early onset. I have been able to rethink myself and my values and my behavioral patterns. I know I keep saying that, but I think it's really important here. It doesn't go away, but the symptoms can reduce with time as we grow, as we age, as we learn more about ourselves. I think a big portion of that is my responsibility to be self-aware and to understand myself and learn how my behavior affects others, learn what I can do to be a better mother, a better girlfriend, a better friend. So a lot of that is self-reflection and how honest you are with yourself. That's a big thing for this, you know. Just being honest with yourself and going to get the help that you need when you need it, and recognizing what symptoms you might be having or what you want to do to change how you've been, or that kind of thing. I don't know if that's making sense, but if you do start to see these symptoms in yourself, or you're like, this sounds really, this sounds a lot like how I behave, go see a therapist. And I highly recommend cognitive behavioral therapy and psychotherapy, and every kind of therapy is so important for mental health. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. So you really need to start taking care of your mind. And if you have ASPD, that's a really difficult thing because you don't want to conform, so much so that if you're like, can everyone take a seat? And I'm like, excuse me, I would rather stand. You don't need to tell me to take a seat. And then the teacher's like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, that's how my brain is. Like, don't tell me to sit down, because I'll stand up all day. Even if I wanted to sit down, you telling me to sit down, I'm like, why? Why do you need me to sit down? So it's exhausting to be me, basically. Most people would just be like, okay, I'll sit down because she asked me to. Like, it's not even a big deal. But I will dig my heels in sometimes, and I will, I will not conform. I don't really know any other way to say that, but yeah. Okay, so that is all of the questions that I'm going to answer for now. This video is getting kind of long. I really hope you guys took something from